Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. I'm going to get right to it, man. Now, it's this old Mustang rolling up on this dirt road. Dust kicking up all over the place. And the driver, he got on his hood and these cracked glasses, cracked aviator glasses. It's Ghost. Ghost lit a cigarette. Turned the radio up and passed the rusted sign that read, "Welcome to Wilder, Tennessee. Population 412. Back in the dirt," he muttered. "Time to wake up the dead." Now listen, things finna get thick because everything that's gonna be coming to fruition is wrapping itself up in this thing. Now y'all gonna have to pay attention to me right now. Now, let's check this out. Now Valentine, he knowing he got to purge these weak links. He got to get rid of them. And Kesha, she survived the beatdown, you know what I mean? And that's making things complicated for him. So he's gonna have to pull in this third party. He's going to have to pull in somebody that nobody's going to see coming. So now we back at the hospital. Kesha, she wake up. She in the hospital bed. Pain running all over her like ants and stuff. Like her jaw is hurting. Her eyes are swollen. Nearly shut, but she's alive. And she moved her hand. You know how you get to touching on yourself and feeling. She feel all that, the tape that's wrapped around her ribs, and breathing just hurts. You know what I'm saying? And she's glad to be alive, but there's a lot of pain going on. And she remembered them 8 dudes, them 8 lords that showed up at her spot looking for that box. And she remembered hiding it in that behind the drywall in the laundry room, the spot no one ever checked. She remembered calling that 911 with that broken jaw. She didn't remember falling down, but she knew from the way her face looked and felt that she must have fell down. Then she looked to her left and she seen her hand that was in handcuffs. It was attached to the hospital bed. And then she turned and looked the other way and she saw Chris Sr. His eyes was closed. He's sitting in the chair with his head leaning back, looking up at the ceiling, but he wasn't asleep. She said, "You awake?" His eyes open. "You held on." And she told him, "Barely, just barely." He said, "They're going to try to finish the job, but they made one mistake." She said, "What's that?" "You ain't just some street girl no more. You the matchstick now. She holds the key. She holds the key and everybody knows it." Now we back at the penitentiary at Stoneridge now in the shower area, right? And when you in the shower, you know how that fog, the steam boils up and whatnot. Like when you at home and you in your shower and you in there and that steam is like that, you can hide in that shower. You can lose yourself. It's almost like teleporting into another universe, another world. But see, in the penitentiary, that steam becomes a problem for you because you can't just hide in it. People can hide from you. And when you in one of those communal shower areas, right, you got to constantly be bathing and got your head on a swivel, looking around to make sure nobody is seeing what you really got going on, making sure ain't nobody watching, make sure ain't nobody creeping up on you, right? Now, a fight breaks out near the drainage thing. It's a Lord enforcer. His name is Shield. And he's cornered off by these 2 gangsters from C-Tier. Everybody's fist is flying, blood spattering. Shield, he had been, funneling information to Valentine and Senior found out about it. Now, this attack, they didn't want to kill him. That ain't what Senior wanted. This was a message that he was sending. The guards get wind of the fight, you know what I'm saying? Somebody running and hollering and telling, so the guards come in, blowing whistles and hollering and shouting and turn off the shower, grabbing inmates, handcuffing them, throwing them down, pushing them to the ground and all this and that. And Chris Jr., he stood out. He just standing there watching everything unfold. He ain't even blink. "We're just getting started," he said, letting everybody know it's time. Now Valentine, he's back in his war room. He looking at maps, blueprints, all of this, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. He's staring at these reports, trying to figure out how the gangsters are moving, and they're moving too fast, too coordinated. And he thought that, Chris Sr., he ain't never had this kind of reach, never. So he turned to his new enforcer, right? This third party I told y'all he gonna bring. It's this dude named Rams. He silent type dude, big old chest and all this, no tattoos, no past record. He came in from out of state. It's a favor from another Lord set. They sent him. They sent him down there to take care of business for Valentine. Valentine nodded toward the wall. He said, "One of them on this wall is helping Senior from outside. We need to find that person and make him an example." Ramsey, that's his name. He cracked his knuckles. He said, you want pain or you want silence? Valentine looked at him and said, I want both. And he said, I need you to start with Ghost. Now we're going to switch back to the hospital. Kesha laying up in the bed. She done set up now, and this plain clothes detective comes in. He in his late 40s, looking tired, wore out. He wasn't crooked, but he wasn't clean either. He just tired of the same old rinse and repeat. You know what I'm saying? People saying, I don't know nothing, I ain't seen nothing, I ain't heard nothing, I don't want to talk to the police. He get tired of seeing his own people go through that. So he looking at the whole situation. He indifferent towards it now. No emotion. And he said, Kesha, how you doing? She said, yeah, what's up? He tell her, I'm Detective Payne. I got 2 men outside your door around the clock. You're a key witness now. She said, a witness to what? He said, attempted murder, gang activity, and a possible conspiracy. Kesha started laughing. You sound like you rehearsed that in the mirror. He said, nah, I didn't. But if you don't play this right, you're going to wake up with more than bruises. He pulled out this folder from his jacket, showed her this picture, showed her Valentine. But this is an old picture from 20 years ago, standing behind Big Mike, laughing. This man ever come around your place? Kesha looked at him, looked at the video. Yes, that's him. That's the one my ex used to call when it was time for somebody to disappear or he needed to disappear. Payne nodded. He's the ghost in the machine. And if he smells that you're alive and talking, he stopped right there. She looked at him and said, he already does. And he already sent them. Now, going back to that trailer out in the woods where Ghost was at. Ghost is sitting there sharpening his blade. Phone rings. He answers. Didn't say a word though. The girl made it. Said a voice on the other end. Ghost didn't move. Good. That means the dirt is still wet. He said, you ready for this? Ghost just smirked at him. I've been waiting 20 years to unbury the truth. Valentine's time is up. Now we back in the cell. It's Chris Senior's cell now. Now this small sealed envelope, somebody slid it up under the door. And inside of it was a key. It was a little bitty key. It was rusted, tiny. But it was marked with the letters WJ. He held it in his hand and whispered, welcome to the war, Ghost. Welcome to the war. Now listen to me. This is going to get thick, so you got to really follow me now. Now see, Chris Senior, he sent these old codes through prison channel. Now, that Ghost, he's out, he digging up the secrets from the old stash house. And Detective Payne, he's starting to connect the dots between the bodies and the betrayals. Everything is starting to come together. You know what I mean? Now at Stone Ridge, you can hear the boots marching on the ground. Inside cell D12, the air is getting thick. Sweat, silence. Chris Senior, he's sitting there, legs crossed on the floor of his cell, sharpening a plastic toothbrush into a shank. Now, not because he needed it, don't get it twisted, but because every man in Stone Ridge needed to see him make it. This was a ritual. It's something that people need to see because he wanted them to know this is war. It's time for this war to pop out. But his real weapon in this war was paper. He tore a strip off of a Bible page, the book of Exodus, and wrote in a series of slashes, underlined, and red marks using a piece of Kool-Aid that he had dyed and threaded and tied to a pen tip. It was an old gangster cipher. Only one of 3 men still breathing could even read this and understand it. One was him, one was Ghost, and the last person was buried somewhere in the hills of Wilder country. You know what I mean? He wrapped the strip around the toothbrush, dipped it into toothpaste, and slid it into an old hollowed out deodorant stick. Then he tapped 3 times on the pipe behind his bunk. A few minutes later, Napoleon, he hit C-Box. You know, he mopping and everything, like he mopping and nodding as he walking past people's cell, and then he gets to Chris's cell and he nod at him and just boom, like it wasn't nothing. He goes in there, he grabs the commissary, you know what I'm saying, leftovers, and he makes sure he grabs that old deodorant stick that's been hollowed out. Now miles away, Ghost, he's parked his car outside a collapsed hunting shack, hidden out in the brush. And he stepped out into the mud, into the dead leaves, and popped the trunk. And he removed the shovel. His leather gloves were cracked, just like the skin underneath it. He lived a rough life, y'all. This place was older than memory. Big Mike, back in the day, had used it in the 80s to stash heat when the streets got too hot. Chris Sr., he played hide and seek out here as a kid. Ghost had buried things here no one was ever supposed to find. But today, the dirt was meant to talk. He found the exact patch under a rotted pine stump and started digging. He going in. 6 feet down, his hand blistered, heart cold. Then he heard that clink. That's that shovel hitting that metal. It was a rusted tin box wrapped in tar black. Inside it was a Polaroid of Valentine and a younger Cindy. A burner cell with one last charge and a cassette tape. Ghost started laughing. He could taste the dirt that was on his teeth, the dust that got all out of the way, and then he said, guess it's story time. Now see, we're going to flash back, you know what I'm saying, and start to remember some of these things, and he's flashing back, and he's starting to remember some of the good times that they had out there. But he had a job to do now. This wasn't time to be losing focus. Now, Kesha, she's in Memphis now, standing at the city bus stop, holding a duffel bag. Wind kicking up her curls and kids running past, hooping and hollering and yelling. You know what I'm saying? She hadn't spoken to Chris Jr. in months. Not since that last envelope from the prison. The one that came with a bloody tear on the edge. Her man, the Lord who raised Chris Jr. like his own, he had skipped town weeks ago. Word on the street was Valentine called in all favors. Anyone, didn't matter who it was, anyone with ties to Chris Jr. was now considered a threat. And in the Lord world, threats got neutralized. She pulled out her phone and she dialed a number that she had avoided for years. She didn't want to call it, and it rang twice. Then a woman's voice answered. It was Tasha. How bad is it? It's bad enough for me to make the call to you. Now, back in Nashville, though, this Detective Payne, he's spreading out all these mug shots across the board. He draws a red X over a body bag photo marked unidentified male, 1990. Listen to me, y'all. I gotta keep up now. I know y'all, like, Joe T, where you going with this? Keep up with me, y'all. The facial structure, the dental records, all this and that, everything that they had, it wasn't Valentine. So who the hell did they bury? Detective Payne is wondering. He replayed the notes. Big Mike and Cindy, they got ambushed. They did. That's Chris Sr.'s parents. It was only one survivor from the gangster side, supposedly. That was Valentine. But the body they recovered, it didn't match. Somebody faked his death, Payne was thinking. Somebody wanted out, and they were going to do whatever they needed to do to get out. But hey, that's how the life works. So here we go. He grabbed a Sharpie and started circling the line around the 1990 case file. Chris Sr., as a child, he's thinking had gotten moved to Memphis under protective relocation by a community guardian. That was Valentine. He wasn't just a traitor, he was also the handler. Now back at Stone Ridge, here we go. We on the yard. It's midday, fall, still out. It ain't lifted yet. The COs, they watching from the tower. Inmates all around huddled up in clusters and whatnot, just checking out the scenery. And Chris Jr., he watched as Tank tried to blend in with the card players. But his body language screamed anxiety. His hands wouldn't stop moving. His eyes twitched every time the chapel door opened. He's scared, Tyke said. He knows it's coming. Let him be, Chris Jr. said. Scared me and talk faster. I want him to scream before he sings. Tyke looked at him and raised his eyebrow. He said, man, that's cold, bro. Chris Jr. didn't blink. He stabbed my father with lies. That cuts deeper than any blade. Now back in the infirmary, Kesha whispered something to Chris Sr. as she wheeled in for another x-ray. Now we jumping around because I'm trying to tie some stuff together for her, right? She said, I told Tasha everything. Chris's eyes tightened. That's dangerous. Why would you do that? He said, she deserves the truth. He looked away, jaws clenched. The truth is what killed my parents. Then maybe it's time the truth kills somebody else. Now look, Ghost plugs the cassette tape that he done dug up in the mud, right? It's an old dusty player. And put the tape in and Cindy's voice is cracking through the static. And this is what she said, speaking from the grave. If you're hearing this, then the devil didn't die in the fire. He just changed his clothes. Woo! Wait a minute. It's getting thick. Y'all got to keep up now. Y'all got to keep up. Now, Valentine, he sends a hit inside Stone Ridge. Ghost starts to weaponize those memories and all this, and they're trying to get everybody, a little nervous. And one of the nervous Lord affiliate makes a fatal mistake. In cell block D, that steel is clattering in the distance. The yard is closed. The lights above, the cells on the walkway, they flickering off and on. They ain't never brand new. Always something old and wore out. Tank, he couldn't sleep. His bunk felt like a coffin. His sheets, they itched all over, right? They do that too, y'all, I'm telling you now. And no matter how many times he told himself he had just been looking out for himself, it didn't help. He knew Chris Jr. was watching him. He knew the gangsters were waiting. Valentine had made it clear. One slip and you're a memory. So when the note arrived, folded into a paper football and flicked under his door during breakfast, his hand started shaking before he even opened it. Tonight, showers, 8 p.m., handle it or you're next. There was no signature whatsoever on it. They didn't need to be. Now, in the chapel at Stone Ridge, candlelights, they flickering inside. And other than that, the room was empty. And Chris Sr., he kneeled down in front of the stained glass window and deep in thought. He could feel the tension building, like one of them cold springs in a mattress. You know how they real tight? That's how wound up everything was in the penitentiary. He had been in lockdowns, riots, and firebomb situations before, but this was surgical. Valentine wasn't swinging wild. He was aiming small, picking off the vulnerable. Like Chris Sr., he had taught his crew about trigger discipline, not just with weapons, but with words, movements, decisions. The wrong twitch could start a war that you wouldn't be able to stop. He stood up from the pew and walked toward the altar. There, hidden below a hollowed out hymn book, was the item Ghost had arranged to be smuggled in. It was a photo. It was old, faded. It was Cindy and Big Mike, his parents, standing on the porch of the hideout out in Wilder. Valentine, just a shadowy figure standing behind them. On the back, he sold us all, not just for you, not just you. Chris slipped the photo into his jumpsuit and whispered, time to teach him what precision really looks like. And if you want to know how this thing plays out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.